on Chalker Community Radio Station on the Maths Show this afternoon. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. So, Paul, can I just ask you very quickly, how did you celebrate Father's Day on Sunday?
Oh, I celebrated Father's Day by doing what I usually do, which is cooking and cleaning.
Wow. And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said what you usually do, because Father's Day is not just one day in the calendar year, is it? Father's Day is every day.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, Paul, can I ask you, how important is it for young boys growing up in today's society to have strong, positive male role models like yourself in their lives? How important is it to you?
For me, it's fundamental. You know, like building a house. Like the most important part of the house is the foundation that is put on. The foundation, the floor that the house is put on. You know, the foundation or the grounding will dictate what can be put upon it. You know, and depending on how strong the foundation is dependent on whether you can put a skyscraper on it or it can only support a shack.
Right.
So,
okay.
The respect, discipline. Their first example of what love is from the masculine.
I'm so glad. You know what, Paul? I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you mentioned the love, the discipline, the respect. And Paul, as you were talking, even those three words that you mentioned, love, discipline, and respect, I relate them to mathematics because you have to respect the language. You know, you have to love the language. And mathematics is about discipline. So, Paul, you mentioned education. What does education look like to you?
Education, for me, is all around. You know, it's you can learn. They say with age comes wisdom, but with age can come wisdom. You know, it's like the education is like a buffet, an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you could be there for 20 years, 50 years, and not take one bite of the buffet.
Right.
So education for me is anytime, anywhere. You know, like maps is every time, anytime, anywhere.
I love that analogy you made of buffet and maths, because it's very true. And as you're talking, I know that there are lots of young people listening, and they will understand what you mean because of what you've just said. And it's so important. And Paul, how important is being numerate and confident with maths and number to you? How important? I mean, how many boys do you have, Paul?
I have 4 boys.
Wow. And so, Paul, as you're bringing them up, when it does come to mathematics and maths homework, obviously I know that you want them to be numerate and confident, but how important is maths to you so that you can actually bring them up with that understanding?
Well, I teach them that maths is in everything. Maths is in everything, in the measurements of the home.
Yep, cooking.
It's in cooking. Angles are everywhere, or we're seeing as angles. The body is made up of angles, and I want one of my children. I want them to be an accountant.
Hey, fantastic!
and if the numbers ain't right in the account, then that's when you're going to know about your maths, isn't it? So,
yes, it is. It is. Oh, Paul, and I love the accent. That was first class, by the way. So, Paul, if there are dads out there who are not confident with maths or doing maths homework with their children, what would you say to them to encourage them? What would you say to them, Paul?
I'd say they need to get hold of Mr. Numbervator.
Oh, right. Okay, and why is that, Paul?
Because he's the best. Mr. Numbervator is the best.
Right, okay. Thank you. Thank you. And apart from Mr. Numbervator, what else would you say to them to encourage them? You're making me blush, Paul.
True, you can pay me later.
Okay, okay.
No, what I would say to them is try to make maths fun.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make it engaging, because when someone is enjoying something, they tense up, and if they tense up, they're not really going to be receptive. So
I love what you just said. It's so true. It's so true. I love what you just said, Paul. It is so true. If they feel tense and they feel worried and they feel scared of giving the wrong answer or saying the wrong thing, they are going to clam up and they're not going to engage. And that's what we don't want. So what you've just said is absolutely gold. Have you got paper and a pen in front of you, Paul?
I do indeed.
Well, I want to give you an activity that I would like you to try with your children at home, okay? Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because you haven't seen what I'm going to show you, but I know you're going to love it. And if you love it, then you're going to pass it on to your children, okay? Okay, right. So can you write the number 37 down 5 times? So one under the other. 37, 37, 37. Just write it down 5 times.
Yep.
And then next to each of the 30 numbers 37s, can you write the multiplication symbol, the cross?
Yeah.
And then next to each of next to the crosses, can you write 30? Can you write 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15?
So next to the cross, 3, 6, 9, 12.
And 15 going down. So you've got 37 times 3, 37 times 6, 37 times 9, and so on. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you some answers. But when I give you the first answer, I know you, Paul, you're going to shout the following answers. I know you are, because this is meant to be fun. And your reaction is going to be the same reaction that your boys and boys listening on the radio today with their dads and mums, I know they're going to do it. So, Paul, 37 times 3, the answer is 111. So you can write 111, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, Paul, when you're counting, what comes after 1?
2.
So tell me, what do you think 37 times 6 is going to be?
2.
Yes. And what's 37 times 9 going to be?
3. No, wait.
Yes, you just said it.
3.
And what's 37 times 12 going to be?
37 times 12.
Follow the pattern. You've got 111, 222. There you go. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that?
I'm a genius.
You are. Listen, but Paul. But the thing is, though, Paul, the way you are reacting and responding, that's what the young boys in your house, that's what they're going to do, guaranteed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because it's fun, you see. And what we have to be careful about is that when we are teaching maths, we do want to make it fun. You said it earlier. We want to make it engaging. So we want them to come back and say, Dad, can you give me another one to do? And Paul, when they do say that to you, instead of using 37 times 3, 37 times 6, swap the 37 around and do 73 times 3, 73 times 6. When you give them the first answer, Paul, the 73 one is even better than the 37 one. It is just so exciting. And this is just an example of what we can bring into the lives of our young people, you see. And Paul, as you were talking, I just wanted to ask you, what would you say to our listeners to encourage them to go out there and play a significant role in the upbringing and the education of the young person? Because Paul, from what I understand and what I've heard about you, That's what you do. You take your boys out. You're strict with the boys. You pick them up from school. You take them to school. You attend parents' meetings.
Yeah.
You see? And so I wanted to ask you, what else could you say to encourage the young men out there with their children, with their lads?
I would say, remember that he was a child as well.
Oh, lovely.
Love them as much as you discipline them, and see them as an investment. Whatever you put in, you're going to get out.
Wow.
And remember, one day you're going to be old, and you're going to appreciate your children taking care of you. So take care of them.
Oh, that's amazing, Paul. And even as you were talking, you used one particular word, and when you used it, my eyes lit up. And you used the word investment, because investment in mathematics is a really important word. But you explained it in terms of family, because children are an investment. And any male role model, any significant male figure can add to that child's investment. And that is exactly what we're talking about. So, Paul, can I just say thank you very much for calling into the Math Show.
Oh, you're welcome. I tune in all the time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. And just before you go, can I ask you, have you got a favorite number, or have you got a favorite shape, or what is it that you love about maths? Or if you don't like maths, why not?
My favorite number is 11.
Ooh.
Yeah, my favorite number 11. My favorite shape is triangle. And what I like about maths is that it can't be argued with. It is what it is.
Yes, it is, Paul. But Paul, it's interesting. As you were talking, you mentioned the number 11. Okay. Yeah. Now that number 11 in mathematics is really, really important. Let me quickly tell you why. I'm going to link the number 11 to fractions. Okay. I'm going to link the number 11 to fractions. And please, once again, Paul, try this with your children, because whatever the age, you will know how to scale it down to suit the age of the young boy, the young male that you're talking about. Yeah. But Paul, the fraction 1/9, so 1/9, the fraction 1/9, any fraction that has got 9 as its denominator, you simply think of the 11 times table. Let me tell you why. Because 1/9 is equivalent to 0.11. 2/9 is equivalent to 0.22. 3/9 is equivalent to 0.33, and so on and so on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if, for example, let's just say, for example, one of your children says, Dad, I'm trying to work out what 5/9 is as a decimal, as an equivalent decimal. You can say to them straight away, it's easy. It's 0.55. Dad, how did you know that? They're going to say, because 1/9 is 0.11, 2/9 is 0.22, 3/9 is 0.33, and so on and so on. Isn't that amazing?
I see that. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
It's like a magic trick, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But Paul, what you can also see is how that can be used in a maths problem in the maths classroom. That's how important it is.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, can I just say thank you so much for calling into the maths show. You know you're always welcome. You know and I'm glad you mentioned that you always listen to it. But listeners, just before Paul goes, can I just say that Paul is a shining gold example of a dad's involvement in their children, in the child's upbringing. Okay, Paul mentioned that, he takes his sons to school. He picks them up. When it's parents' evening, it's not just a responsibility of mum. It's a joint responsibility. And this is exactly what Paul is talking about. It is just so amazing, and it is just so important. So Paul, please carry on what you're doing. I look forward to hearing from you again, and give my best wishes to your boys. And if they've got any maths question at any time that they want to ask me, you know they can call into the math show and I will answer their question. I will teach them live on the radio. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Now, wasn't that a gold mine of an interview with Paul? Okay? Paul is an example of a responsible, active, brilliant dad. That's all I can say. There's nothing more but that to describe him. I wish there were some more adjectives that I could actually use to describe the role of Paul, because this is exactly what we're looking at. We want young men to be active in the upbringing of their young boys, their young men, because we want them to look back. Paul mentioned the word investment. We want young boys to be able to come to dad, sit with dad, read with dad. And this is what makes maths so special, because you can read about maths. You can do the maths. I just showed Paul one activity that all of you listening can try with the number 37. 37 times 3, 111. 37 times 6, 222. 37 times 3, 333, and so on. It's a pattern. And when it gets to a certain number, the pattern will change, but you can still continue and follow the pattern. It's an investigation. You're solving a problem. You are engaging with maths and number in a fun way. And this is what maths is all about. It's about the engagement. It's about the hands-on. So just want to go back quickly to what I started off with place value. Please remember that when we're talking about ones, tens, and hundreds, we do not use the word units, okay? In the maths classroom, we use the word ones. So if I write the number 145, I've got a 5 in the ones column. That's on the right. I've got a 4 in the tens column. And I've got a 1 in the hundreds column. So that 5 digit is worth 5 ones. That 4 digit is worth 4 tens, which is 40, because the 4 is in the tens column. And the 1 digit is worth 100 because it's in the 100 column. So you imagine you write the number 145 equals, and then we're going to break up, we're going to expand the number 145. We're going to partition the digits. So 145 is made up of 100 plus 40 plus 5. And dads, male role models, male role figures, this is what you can do. It takes 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes to explain. You explain to the young person, you give them examples, you ask them to break the number up, to expand the number, to partition the number. When they can do hundreds, you move on to thousands. When they can do thousands, you move on to tens of thousands. This is how we develop key numeracy number skills in our young boys, because it's our young boys who are the future. And we want our young boys to be amazing. All school classrooms that I go into, there is amazing, outstanding teaching going on in every single classroom. Every single classroom, there is good, outstanding teaching going on. It's for us as parents, it's for us as men, dads, to make sure we build on that good teaching. We build on that foundation that Paul spoke about. That is what our role is. I want to talk about now the 4 times table, because as you know, Sovereign Comics, we make comics so that we can encourage our young boys, our young children, so boys and girls, but remember, it's in honor of Father's Day. We make maths comics so that dads can sit down with their boys, with their lads, and they can read. Reading is a key skill. We want our children, we want our girls, we want our boys to be literate. We want them to be able to read. What better way is there than to combine reading with mathematics? And that is exactly what I'm holding up on the screen, because don't forget we're live streaming, and I'm showing you the Mr. Numbervator multiplication tables check comic. As you know, a comic has got words, but what the words do is they bring the maths to life. They give maths meaning. They give maths value and worth. So the Mr. Numbervator Master the multiplication tables check is a comic. So what you do, you sit down with your child, or you allow the child to read to you, even better. And as the child is reading, they are developing those key literacy skills, but they are also developing their key numeracy and math skills. Because as they are reading, every single word in the maths comic has got a meaning and a purpose behind it. That's the reason why it's been written in that way. Because Sovereign Comics, we are Sovereign Comics, we are sovereign. We make sure that every single word in our comics makes mathematical sense. So when you are reading with your child, Dad, you are actually teaching them maths. And the multiplication tables comic is teaching young children about the times tables, but in a fun way. And that is what makes learning so important. That's what makes reading so important. So dads, you can get books, but isn't it lovely that children love comics? So isn't it amazing that we can sit down with a young child and read a comic, but at the same time, they are learning. So the other one I'm holding up, one of the other ones in the series, is Mr. Numbervator's equivalent fractions comic. So once again, you read through the comic, it's teaching you all about equivalent fractions. What are equivalent fractions? Okay, I'm going to tell you. That's what we call. I was asking myself that question to answer it. So, what is an equivalent fraction? An equivalent fraction looks the same, but has got different numbers, basically. So a half is the same as 2/4. So a half is 1's the numerator, 2's the denominator. 2/4, 2's the numerator, and 4's the denominator. They are equivalent, they look different, but they've got the same value. They've got the same worth. So that's what equivalent fractions are. You can simplify equivalent fractions. You can convert equivalent fractions. And so the comic, you read the comic, and then once you've read the comic and you understand the comic, dads, with your boys, there are activity booklets. Can you imagine it? Once again, you read the activity booklets. And because you've read the comic, and because the comic is going to be in front of you, you can always refer back to the comic. Each week, I mention Dean being in the studio. Dean doesn't just sort out the social media, the platforms, and all the IT. Dean is responsible for making sure that when you read the comic, the actual activity, the page, is referenced to the comic. So you can look at the page. I don't understand how to convert an improper fraction into a mixed number. And then Dean has referenced what to do and how to do it back to the comic. Now that is amazing. That is amazing. And that is why these comics are amazing. So I know that there's lots of head teachers listening today. I had about 500 head teachers hit me on LinkedIn. And I know there's lots of you out there. You can get the Mr. Numbervator maths comics. You can get them online. You can go to Sovereign Comics, all one word, .co.uk, and you can get the comics. You can get the activity books. The activity books are differentiated. Okay, so you can get them into your classrooms, into your schools. Parents, you can buy them for your children. Why am I talking about this? Is because today is about dads. It's about how can we encourage our young people to want to learn and to want to be engaged and engrossed with their learning. And dads, we are the ideal vessel that we can bring our young children into and give them so much. So you know what to do. You know where to go. sovereigncomics.co.uk. You can get all of the comics. You can get the activity books. You can even get to speak to me. You can leave a message and I can call you. I can speak to you. I can advise you. How about if you are a head teacher and you want a maths assembly? You want a positive, strong role model to come into your school and talk about maths. What about teachers? If you've got some ECT teachers, if you want to do an inset or after school meeting about maths to raise the profile, there's me, Mr. Numbervator, Chalk Hill Community Radio, sovereigncomics.co.uk. You can call us for any of those things that you want. This is what makes maths special. And this is why, dads, we play a significant role in our young children. The 3 times table, dads, you're going to love this one. The 3 times table is absolutely amazing. Okay, the 3 times table is one of my favorite tables. The 4 times table is my all-time favorite. I'm going to come back to that one shortly, but let's just concentrate on the 3 times table. Okay, right. I've written the 3 times table down. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. So I've written it down. What do we notice? And dads, males, this is what you can bring to the attention of the young boy if they don't bring it to you. When you write the multiples of 3, when you write the 3 times table, numbers divisible by 3, there's a pattern. Odd, even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, even. 3 odd, 6 even, 9 odd, 12 even, 15 odd, 18 even. There's a lovely pattern. And maths is about patterns. And when we draw this to our young people, they go, wow, I didn't know this. But that is what the role of a good, strong dad can be. A simple 1 minute. 1 minute it took me to explain to you that one pattern. But there is more. Right, I'm going to write down the number 145, the number that I use for place value. I'm going to use that same number. It's a 3-digit number. Now, I want to know if that number 145 is in the 3 times table. I want to know if 145 is a multiple of 3. Now, I can write down my 3 times table and see if I get to 145, but that's going to take me a bit of time. There's another strategy. There's another way of determining, of working out if a number is divisible by 3. And all you do is this. Dads, get your paper, pencil, pen, whatever you've got ready. I've given you the number 145 as an example. Add together the 3 individual digits. So I've got the 1, I've got the 4, I've got the 5. 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 5 is 10. So I've got a sum of 10, S-U-M, I've got a sum of 10. Now, is the number 10 in the 3 times table? Do I say 10 as I am saying the 3 times table? Let's check. 3, 6, 9, 12. No, I did not say the number 10. So that is telling me that 145 is not a multiple of 3 because the sum of the digits do not come to a multiple of 3. This is something that we can do, that you can do at home, dads, with your young people, with your young boys. And that's why I've called my show Maths for Dads with Lads, because we as dads, as strong role models, we know the impact and the influence that we can have on the upbringing of our young boys who are going to turn into strong, well-balanced, confident young men. I've got another caller on the line. Someone's called in to the Math Show. Good afternoon, caller number 2. Tendai Morari, good afternoon. Please.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for calling in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your name, please?
I am Omowale, brother Omowale Kwao.
Yep.
And I have 2 sons.
Wow.
And I have 2 sons. And prior to that, the organization that I'm part of, we had a Saturday school. So I used to teach a little bit of maths at the Saturday school, but before that, we had a little shop. And we had a little bookshop, culture shop, selling traditional African attire, etc. And when the children used to finish their classes, I would always approach them and try and get them to try and test them on their tables.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Omowale, you can tell that I'm beaming now because you just mentioned something I just mentioned 2 minutes ago. Please tell my listeners, how did you challenge them? What did you do with them to support their learning of the times tables?
Well, I would basically see how quick they can respond.
Oh, amazing!
When I ask them the question.
Yes.
Because and also I think some of the way maths is taught or tables are taught.
Yep.
Particularly with younger children, they just taught the multiples 2, 4.
Yes.
6, 8.
Yes.
And then when you said to them 5 2s, they stuck because they've got like a rote.
Yes.
Like a rote way of understanding it.
Of course.
So I don't do it in the rote way. I do it in a random way.
Amazing.
I do it in a random way. And when I taught at Saturday school, what I used to do is, for example, if we say 5 times table, I used to literally get them to write down 5 times 1, 5 times 2, and then look at the numbers and actually say 5 times 2 is 10.
Right.
And they would say 5 times, and then they would close their eyes so they can still see the numbers. 5 times 2 is 10.
Amazing.
So they're visually and audibly getting it into their
head.
I
love that. I love that.
And then I would test them randomly. So they learn the series, but then I would say to them 5 1s.
Yeah.
5 2. So I would do it in random order to see, because they have to do it randomly. If they don't do it randomly, they don't do it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And then I would we would have like competitions to see who's the quickest at responding.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, everybody wants to win.
Of course, and it's making it fun. It's making it fun.
It's making it fun. Competition is a lot of fun.
It's healthy. Yes, it is.
As long as there's friendly competition.
Yes, exactly. But Omowale.
Also, when there's a little prize.
And we all love prizes. We all love prizes.
Oh yes.
Oh my days. But Omowale, there's 4 words that you mentioned, and I've written them down because these are what you mentioned. They're all verbs. They're all active words. And as you were talking, I was picturing you teaching these young children, because you mentioned audibly, you mentioned visually, you mentioned randomly, you mentioned mentally. And these are all words that we have to be doing actively with our young boys, because they are the boys who are going to be turning into men. So Omowale, that leads me on to another question. How important is it to you for our young boys growing up in today's society to have strong, positive male role models in their lives?
I think it's very, very important, my dear brother Boko, because they can see themselves in you. And the more you encourage and support them, some areas of maths are challenging, and I think as the tutor, you've got to recognize that they're not always going to grasp something straight away. What might be easy for you, doesn't necessarily mean it's easy for them.
Correct.
And also, for me as a tutor, you have to adjust yourself to the student. So for me, if I'm trying to explain something to a student and they don't understand, then I'm going to try in another way. For example, we spoke about audio and visual. There's a lot of very good YouTube videos, for example. They may find when they see something, on a video, they may grasp it. There's different ways of, or even try to refine the way you're explaining it.
Yeah.
Maybe apply it to different apply it to a practical example. Like, for example, if you're doing subtraction, apply it to things like shopping, which I know you do, which I know is something that you do a lot. My dear brother, you actively apply maths, and I think the more you apply maths to real life, the more life you give mathematics, and the more context you give mathematics to make students realize, oh, this is something that I need to actually learn about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know you do a lot of stuff with money as well. There's nothing young people love more than money.
Money, yes. It's important.
To accumulate money.
Of course.
Use that as a motivation for them to learn maths, for them to learn about numbers.
Wow.
I would also say as early as possible.
Right.
And this helps.
Yes.
As early as possible, bring maths into their lives, and it could be just in terms of measurement,
shape.
It could be like we just said in terms of shopping. Learn about shape. What's this shape called?
That's right.
Distance, measurement. Get them to do the practical things in maths. But ultimately, and it's something I know you're excellent at, is making maths fun. It's got to be fun.
Wow.
If it's not fun, you've got to change the way you do it, make it fun.
Powerful. Oh my Wally, honestly, as you're talking, you have to come into the studio, because the way that you're talking, I'm getting claps on my phone from what you're saying, and it's just so magical. But there's one question that someone has asked me, if there are dads out there who are not confident with maths, so their maths, maybe they had a bad experience when they were younger, or they are not neuro themselves, what would you say to them to support them, to direct them, or to help them become better? What would you say to them so that they can actually be an active part in their young boys' upbringing when it comes to maths?
Well, it depends how important it is. The more important it is, the more you would come out of your comfort zone and maybe, join a further education college, for example, and learn some basic maths and then progress.
Perfect.
That's one way of doing it. Again, we've got the online videos that are very good at different stages if you want to do it privately. But there's so many nowadays. There's so many different ways of learning and acquiring information that I would say, first of all, you have to have the will to do it and the confidence to do it. And for me, as a parent, you've got to challenge yourself. You've got to say, okay, I didn't have a good experience at school. I didn't like maths. Let me try again. I'm an adult now, and apply an adult way of thinking. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe speak to the class teacher.
Perfect. Perfect. Yep.
For guidance as well, in terms of maybe he or she may recommend, places to go, but I would say adult education classes, it's really important. Look at your children's books. You may find that there's things you remember.
Exactly.
The things that you might remember. Go through a few exercises while they're in bed. Go through a few exercises. Check the answers at the back. See if you got them right. And build up your confidence.
Yeah.
It's a step-by-step process. But I think if you love your children enough and you love yourself enough, you would want to enhance every aspect of your life. And this is
beautiful.
And this is numeracy.
Beautiful.
Numbers are so important. Maths is so important. And the gift of maths to a child.
Yes.
It can be a game changer in their lives. Because obviously maths is the foundation of science.
There you go.
And we know in this society how important science and technology is.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So mathematics is really, really important. So I would encourage all parents,
fantastic,
to check out, classes. Start at a basic level, build up your confidence.
Yep.
Yeah, and keep going.
Right.
Keep going. That's the most important thing.
I'm
always on call to any parent, who does want, some support. I'm more than happy to support them.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, and then you can tell us how they can do that. But I've had the class teacher who's just sent me a message, and her message is ask Omawale how important is being numerate in society today. That's what her question is.
To some extent, I've answered it because, as I said, numeracy. I mean, let's take business for example.
Yeah.
If we don't understand numbers, there is no way we can really be successful businessmen or women, because we may hire somebody, but if we don't have the basic understanding, we could find that we're losing money.
Of course.
Being ripped off.
Exactly.
We don't want that.
And that's what happens. That happens at the moment now. Celebrities, pop stars, footballers. That is exactly because they've made their money through using their feet or their voices. But when it comes to maths, they haven't got a clue about numbers, and so people will rip them off. And you just said it happens now, Omawale. It does happen now. So that is so important.
I know a lot of sports people and entertainers.
Yes.
They're now taking class. They take, like, for example, language classes, like footballers.
Yep.
They learn a lot of languages.
Yep.
I don't know to what extent they're learning maths and ultimately learning business.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's very, very important. Get an understanding of basic maths, as I said. Develop your skills. You know what I'm saying? And it's only going to help you in the long run.
Correct.
For me, these are life enhancing skills.
Yeah.
It's as important as that. Any parent wants to be successful in being able to feed their family.
Yeah.
You've got to develop, your numeracy skills.
Perfect.
And like I said before, challenge yourself. Come out of your comfort zone.
Omawale, can I just jump in there? Only because of time. I could talk with you for the next 3 hours. But can you tell my listeners, what is your favorite area? What is your favorite area in mathematics?
Wow. Something, I guess because I've done so much work with times tables, I love to see the main reason is because I love to see the transformation in children when they realize that they can do their tables.
Wow.
And do it so proficiently.
Wow.
The confidence it builds in their children, they feel they can take on anything.
Yes.
So I think for me, most satisfying is tables. But I love all areas of maths.
Right.
And I'm continuing to learn and develop my skills in maths because, you know, the thing about maths as well, you have to stay sharp because there are so many disciplines in maths.
Yes, you say that again.
You have to really stay. You have to stay
ahead of the game. You have to.
You know what I'm saying?
You have to.
You can easily forget.
And so Omawale,
it's a real challenge. See it as a challenge.
Yeah. So when your boys were younger and they came home and they had their maths homework, how did you approach them doing their maths homework? I know that I'm sure that you sit down with them, but if they couldn't do something, how did you help them to overcome that initial difficulty?
Well, I try to break it down into different stages because sometimes there are certain parts of the question that they do understand.
Yes.
So you ask them certain questions and you see to what point they don't understand, and that's when you step in because you can't assume that they're just totally. Sometimes they're not aware, or it's a new area of mathematics. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they didn't grasp what the teacher's saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But so you check how much they understand first, and then you step by step go through the different areas. Yeah.
Wow.
And another important thing for me as well is knowing how to answer a question. Make sure you teach your child how to answer a question. In other words, break down, presume. What I always say is presume that the teacher or the person marking has no idea.
Exactly. I say the same thing. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Explain it in very basic, break it down.
Yeah.
And structure it. That's another wonderful thing about maths. Is it helps you to be structured and ordered. This is one of the things I love about maths.
Yeah.
It's helped me to be more structured and ordered in my life.
Amazing.
As a result of studying maths.
Wow.
So I continue to learn.
Wow. I mean,
develop my
math skills and everything. Omawale, only because of time. As I said, I could talk to you for hours and hours, but even what you just said, even though you've brought your boys up, you've just said that you are still learning, and also it's helped you in your everyday life. And for me, that is powerful as well. That is so powerful as well. I mean, Omawale, can I just say thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for calling, because all of I've written down so many points that you've mentioned, and because they are just so important. And all I can say is I really hope that you enjoyed Father's Day on Sunday. But Father's Day is not just one day in a year. Father's Day is every day. And so I know we pay lip service to one day, June the 19th, but it's more than that though. But can I just say a big thank you for calling into the show this afternoon, and I really hope that that you call in again. And if ever at any stage your sons want any direction or they want to talk to me about maths, please, I'm always there for them. I'm always there for them. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for you, Dean, and all your team for the wonderful work that you've been doing, enlightening and lifting up this subject of mathematics, because this whole concept of maths is hard, and people, I think you are exploding that myth. Really challenging parents, challenging pupils and students, and I think it's excellent work that you do.
Thank you so much.
Creative and dynamic way, and enthusiasm in particular.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That you bring it to the students. So I really appreciate you. Continue the good work. More power to yourself.
Thank you.
My regards to the Dean.
Thank you very much indeed, Omawale, and have a great evening. Thank you very much indeed. I'll let him know. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you can't get better than that, can you? You just cannot get better than what we've just heard from Omawale, two young boys, and what he's doing to support the educational development of his two boys and just making maths come alive. I know that we've only got a couple of minutes left, but there's an activity that I've got this one for dads, okay? Now, this one is a hands-on interactive activity to do with circles, okay? And you can do this with children from, I would say, anything from year 3 upwards, so 7, 8 upwards, right through to GCSE. Yeah, right through to GCSE I'm talking about. So from the very young to year 11s, you can do this. Try this at home. Okay, get a plate, a normal dinner plate that you eat from. Get a plate and draw around the outside of the plate on a piece of paper. You can use a piece of A3, A4, a piece of scrap paper, and just draw around it. Okay, so you've got a plate and you've drawn around it because it's circle, yeah? Perfect, right. Now, get a piece of string, and I would say the piece of string, you can make it about 30 centimeters long. So 30 centimeters is the length of a normal classroom ruler, okay? 30 centimeters, which is the same as 1 foot, by the way, yeah? So 30, because a 1 foot is 30.48 centimeters. So a classroom ruler is basically a foot. There's me showing off. So you've drawn around your plate, and then you've got a ruler. Now get a piece of string, and make sure that your piece of string is long enough to fit around the outside of the circle. So make sure that your piece of string can fit around the outside of your circle. So let me take you through it again. You've got a plate, you've drawn around a plate, you've got a piece of string, and you've cut that piece of string so that it can fit exactly around the outside of the plate. Brilliant. Now, get your ruler and measure the distance from one edge of the circle across to the other side. So you're going to go right across the circle. In other words, you're going to use that's the diameter. So cut a piece of string to fit the exact length of your diameter. So you've got your plate, you've drawn around the plate, you've got a piece of string, you've cut the piece of string so it fits around the outside of that circle. You've got another piece of string that is the same length as your diameter. And your diameter is the distance across the circle from one side to the other. Brilliant. Now, with that piece of string, that's your diameter, trace it around the outside of your circle and see how many times, how many lots of that diameter length can fit around the outside of the circle. Okay, so see how many times that diameter, that length of string, which is the diameter, see how many times it can fit around the outside of the circle. So you're going to start somewhere, trace it along the circle. Where it stops, that's where you start the next one from, and so on. You will find that that diameter can only fit around the circle 3 and a little bit times. It can only fit around the circle 3 and a little bit times. And guess what? 3 and a little bit is the same as pi, P-I. And that is how you work out the numerical value of pi. Because we teach pi to year 9, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and they need to use pi when they're working out the area of the circle. But I've just taught you circumference, which is the distance around the outside of any circle, is equivalent to diameter multiplied by 3.14, because your diameter can only fit around the circle 3 and a little bit times, and 3 and a little bit in maths is the same as 3.14. You try it, let me know how it goes, and you get back to me. Can I just say what a lovely, I could be here all evening talking about this topic, and maybe I think we might have to visit it again at some stage. And don't worry, when it's Mother's Day, we're going to have mums and girls as well, so don't worry, okay? But listen, thank you all for listening. Thank you for the lovely comments and the thumbs up. Thank you for Omawale, and thank you to Paul for calling into the math show. And in 2 weeks' time, on the 1st, I think, of July, or the 3rd of July, we've got 2 young year 3 children coming into the math show to do maths live on the radio. I cannot wait. I think it's a Wednesday, July the 2nd. I'll let you know next week, but it's going to be absolutely amazing. I will keep you informed. Have a great evening. Hi to everyone. Thank you all to everyone for listening, and I shall see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.